Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to be the goddesses they were meant to be. I'm your co-host, Julietta, also known as the Magical PT. I own my own physical therapy practice called Body and Soul PT here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Besides being a podcaster, I am a jeweler, an artist, an author. I think I'm forgetting something, but that's enough things to be, right? So I've lived in Florida, I think, for 28 years now, something crazy like that. But I'm originally from Wisconsin, and I will always be a Midwesterner. And thankfully, my family still lives up there, so I get to go visit fairly regularly. And I'm so happy to have my co-host Allison here. Had to have our producer sub in for her for a couple of episodes here. So I've been missing you.
I know. I miss you too. I was thinking about you guys on and off the whole time, but I'm sure Jess did an awesome job. She's amazing. So we really appreciate her. And thank you, Jess, for jumping in for me and guest hosting. So yes, my name is Allison Mancini and I live in South Florida, originally from Michigan, but I've been down here as long as Julietta. I think it's 29 years, just 29 years in February. Holy cow. It's forever. It feels like. And I am the mom of two amazing adult children, a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old. I've been married to my husband for 28 years, and I am a holistic nutritionist. Also working on my certification in functional nutrition. And I'm also a human resources director for an amazing company called The Gold Digger Girl. I'm a co-host of this awesome podcast and a sister, mom, friend, aunt, all those other things. Neighbor.
All of it. All of it. All right. Well, we have our sponsor for the month of March, Jewel Toned Interiors. So Jewel Toned Interiors is an award-winning women-owned interior design company located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Fort Lauderdale Magazine named Jewel Toned Interiors the #1 interior designer in town. They transform lives by the creation of experiential interiors for all people. It's what drives them to produce environments that are truly reflective of the unique personality of each and every client they have the pleasure to work with. Imagine how a strategic work environment can positively impact your bottom line. It's proven to increase employee productivity and morale while making a lasting impression on customers and new hires. The jewel-toned interior gems, as they call themselves, come from a variety of backgrounds with experiences in many industries, from restaurants and retail to offices and multifamily housing. They are proud to be trusted with something as important as your vision, so let them bring it to life for you. It all starts with an idea, so let them help you consider the possibilities today. Discover more about Jewel Toned Interiors and what they are capable of at jeweltonedinteriors.com. Whew, that's a mouthful.
They are incredible, though. And
the gems are awesome.
They are. And their work is beautiful. They actually, did you see that? She posted a restaurant they just did in Fort Lauderdale over on the beach. It looks incredible. I want to go there just to see. Yeah.
That's where we'll have our next podcast meeting.
Oh, definitely. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. She posted it on her page and it's right on the beach. So I'm like, oh, we have to go check that out.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
So
what are we talking about?
So I wanted to bring up a subject that I think can be a little challenging for some people to understand, but I have been in my work as a nutritionist, and I read all the time. Like, I'm a reading crazy person. If you can see like the books in the background. So one of the blurred ones. So one of the things that I was recently reading about and learning more about is there are particular foods that majority, it's like 70% of the population is actually sensitive to, not allergic. So there's a big difference in allergies and sensitivities. And the reason I want to bring it up is this is one of the things that kind of led me down my road to where I am now, because having food sensitivities happened to be one of my biggest issues when I got so sick 13, 14 years ago. I just was not aware of it because I didn't know that it existed. I just thought you either were severely allergic to a food or you weren't. And if you didn't have an immediate reaction, you could eat it. Who cared? But that's really not the way that it works. There's actually foods that when you eat them, they are keeping your immune system like on this constant guarded level where it's constantly overworking because your body, for whatever reason, there can be a lot of reasons, just can't handle that food. And a lot of people they have found that really, really struggle, especially as you get older in either losing weight or keeping the weight off, has a lot to do with food sensitivities. And I'm just going to name the biggest food sensitivities because I know, Julietta, the minute you hear them, you're going to be like, shh, don't even want to hear it. And I was actually, because you know me,
is this one of them? Oh, you can't see. How do I
can't see it, but you know me, one of mine, no, it's not. Coffee's not one of them.
Okay.
So you'll be happy about that. Because two of the food sensitivities are my two biggest ones that I gave up 13 years ago. And I have tried to eat them a few times and it's never been a good scenario. But two big ones are obviously dairy and gluten. They are, it's not just a fad to go dairy free and gluten free. It has real science behind it. If you want more information, you can always reach out to me. But those two are big ones. The other big one, and this made me sad, is eggs, because I love to eat eggs. I love omelets. The other one is obviously the artificial sweeteners that we use. People stop using Splenda and all that nasty stuff. So bad for you.
I cringe every time.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, this surprised me. Corn is a huge food sensitivity for most people. And it's something that you don't even realize that you're eating. Like the other night I went out and I would typically get like some corn tortillas for my tacos because I can't do gluten. I was like, oh, but it's corn. I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, I got to rethink that one. And then the other one is peanuts, which is a huge factor for our kids. Like how many of us grew up eating peanut butter and jelly and eating peanut butter on celery and dipping peanut butter in crackers. But it is a really, really big deal. And what I find interesting about all of these things is that if you just can cut them out for 21 days, completely cut them out for 21 days. That gives your body enough time to calm it down. All of your immune responses will calm down and slow down. And then you can reintroduce one at a time, like one per week, and see if you don't react to that one anymore, then eat it in moderation. None of those foods are good for us long-term. And it is really where a lot of people find that they have their most problems. So I could go on and on and on about that, but if you want more information, reach out to me.
Yeah. And, the comments on the peanut butter and the corn. So peanut butter is a huge source of mold.
Yes, it is. Big time.
So I think that is one of the things that leads people to being so sensitive to it is it does have a high mold issue. And this goes for everything, but corn is, essentially they say like you can't even get corn that isn't genetically modified.
That's real. It's like real.
All genetically modified. Yeah. So the question becomes, if the corn wasn't genetically modified, we might not have the sensitivities. And they even say that about, people with gluten sensitivity, sure. Mm-hmm. That, wheat historically, before it became so modified, people didn't react to it, but it's these modifications mm-hmm. that are not, it's foreign to our bodies. And mm-hmm. so it doesn't know what to do with it. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'm just throwing it out.
I think the biggest thing for people to understand is food sensitivities does not even mean like an immediate stomach ache or an immediate headache. That you can take 24 to 48 hours for anything to show up. And it can be something as simple as just feeling fatigued, having a foggy brain, having a little bit of an upset stomach, or maybe getting muscle spasms. Like it can affect you in so many different ways. And I just, for me, my goal is just to be as healthy as I can be so that I can do all the amazing things that I want to do. Yes. Is there a little bit of give and take? Because man, I can't, I love to eat a corn tortilla taco. Well, you know what? I'm just going to have to do that in moderation now. You know what I'm saying? Because I know part of the problem with all of these foods is they cause inflammation. They just cause constant inflammation because your immune system's on overdrive. And inflammation, we all know, is just not good for you long-term. So that's my public service announcement for the day.
All right. Let's bring our guest on.
I know. She's so patiently waiting. Hello, Carrie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
We're glad to have you. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about you?
Sure. So my name's Carrie Leaf. I'm a psychotherapist and a mindset coach. I've been doing this for over a decade now. I've worked in all kinds of different settings, like community mental health, residential treatment, substance abuse, military base, university, campus, and I'm in private practice now. So I've done a lot of different things with a lot of different populations. I like to focus on mindset and negative belief systems to help heal and be able to function our best. But really, what's really important to me is taking a holistic approach, looking at mind, body, and soul, and the growth and the healing process. Other than that, I'm a mom to twin 4-year-old boys and 2 boxer dogs. Married to my husband, 6 years now, or 5, 6. I don't know. I don't know. That's bad. Somewhere in there. And then I just recently released a book in October called Therapize Yourself, and that's where I'm at.
That's incredible.
Hands full.
I know. Listen, the fact that you have twin boys that are 4, Alyssa, kudos to you. I have 2 children and they were 3 years apart. So there you go.
It's a wild ride, but it's fun.
I have a really good friend who she had she had a boy first and then she got pregnant again. It was with twin boys.
Oh, wow.
So she had 3 boys and they were all like within, I think they were only like 1.5 years, 2 years apart in age. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. It was basically like having triplets.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump on into our questions. And our first question that we have for you is, what is one book do you wish that every goddess would read and why? And really, how's that really impacted you in a deep way in your life?
That is such a good question. And there's so many, and that is hard to narrow down. But I think for right now, one, and it's been a long time since I've read it, honestly, but that stands out to me, that like its importance, because it has just always stuck, would be The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Vol, because it's that connection. It stresses that connection between the brain and the mind and the body, and the emotions and the body, and what we go through, and how they're going to show up. Things that we have going on in our mental health are going to show up in our body, and things going on in our body are going to affect our mental health, and really just stresses that importance in a society that tends to separate all of those things and look at the symptoms rather than the root cause and integrate them all together. So I would say The Body Keeps the Score would be a book that I would like everyone to read.
That's great. I need to look into that. And it's so true, because everything I do with my work with nutrition, I mean, they say all the time how much your mind is connected to your stomach and your body and the whole thing, like they all work together. And when one part is off, and that was part of my journey was with a functional medicine doctor, which they look very holistically. And that was the whole thing. Like it all works together. And if you just make sure that it's all working and give it what it needs to work well, then it does amazing things. But that sounds like a really incredible book. I'm definitely going to have to check that out.
Yes, I love it. And, with my clients, no matter what they're coming to me for, exactly what you're saying is I'll start all of them out with, what are you eating? How are you sleeping? Mm-hmm. Are you exercising? How are you taking care of your body? Mm-hmm. Because if we can get that solid foundation in your physical health, we are going to be able to manage the mental health and the mindset so much easier when we have that we know that we're not kind of, I guess, barking up the wrong tree, that like the cause of something that looks like a mental health symptom isn't actually something like a food sensitivity, that you're eating, fast food every single day and the body's just, really upset, or the fact that you're not getting your body moving and releasing, energy and thoughts and emotions. So yes, it's so important.
Yeah, that was making me think. I was listening recently to there's a platform called Mind Valley, and they have all these different like just bite-sized chunks of courses that you can take for all kinds of things. And I was listening to this one called Super Brain, and the guy who does it, his last name is Quick. I can't think of his first name, but he's like well known for like teaching you how to like remember names and read quicker and all these things. But he was talking about how important our nutrition is to our brain and to our mind. And when our brain doesn't have what it needs, it's very difficult for it to function, right? So I love that you come in with your clients with that aspect. And it isn't just about the food. It's, you know, Julietta knows, and she's seen it for 30 years and everything that she does. It's that whole connection of your body, mind, and soul. And it's everything that comes together. And it is so important. So I love that you do that. I think that's awesome.
Yes. You know, you mentioned functional medicine, and I've been on my own functional medicine journey in the last few years. And I had this brain fog for, I would say 8-9 months. And I just kept telling my husband, something's wrong. Something's off. I don't know what it is. I don't feel right. I can't wake up. I'm not alert. And it come to find out, I had been putting oat milk. I decided, I had a Starbucks one time and I was like, oh, I love that. So I started drinking oat milk in my coffee every day. Do the functional medicine, the muscle response test. I have a sensitivity to oats. So I'm like, no, this was my favorite coffee, you know, and as soon as I eliminated that oat milk from my morning coffee, it was, you know, pretty much, I would say within a few days, and I'm feeling better and back at it. I'm like, wow, it was kind of mind blowing. It was fascinating. So yeah, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So question number 2.
Yeah.
So speaking of all these things that we're talking about, they all kind of tie together. What would you say is your favorite self-care practice, and how does it really support you with your twins and the dogs and husband and work and all of that stuff?
Yeah, well, the most important thing to me is that I have a lot of them, because, you know, on any given day, you might only have so much time. The weather might cooperate. I live in Iowa. It's changing constantly. There's a long time that I can't go outside when I want to be outside, or I can, but it'd be miserable, you know. So it's the most important thing to me is that I have a lot of different ones to choose from. But I would say exercise is my favorite, is my go-to, even if it's just walking, yoga, moving the body in some way. That is my absolute favorite. If I look back in the periods of my life, like, you know, the patterns, there's been patterns where I exercised a lot, or maybe I'd go for years not at all, and then, you know, here and there. And when I look back, I was always feeling my best when I had some kind of consistent exercise. You know, I've done too much in the past too. I've been in that space where I was exercising too much. It's all in moderation, like you said, and it's that balance. But definitely moving my body is going to be my go-to coping skill. I've also gotten finally to a point in my life where I have some consistent routines, like doing my chiropractor, my gua sha on a monthly basis, trying to squeeze in a massage every month or every other month, things like that. Just having a system set up, and when I book them ahead, I actually follow through. So those would be my top ones.
Nice. And movement too, you know, people always think like exercise has to be going to the gym or doing a specific routine. And honestly, the most important thing is just to be moving. Don't be sedentary, you know, and it can be gardening or cleaning your house, or there's so many other ways, dancing, you know, just find a way to bring movement into your life that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be, you know, exercise is it's a label that, you know, so many people just run away from, and don't think of it as exercise. Just bring movement into your life. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. It can't be something that feels like a chore, or where we get obsessive, kind of neurotic about it. Like, oh, I didn't exercise today and I'm guilting and I'm beating myself up. Then we're spinning off into a really not good cycle. But you're absolutely right. Whatever feels like enjoyable, you know, and it doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 15 minutes here and there. It's whatever fits into your life and how you want to do it, you know, make it yours, you know. There is not a one size fits all with our bodies, you know, but definitely just get moving in some way, shape, or form. Exactly.
So our next question, Carrie, because we all have those days where it's just really difficult to show up and get the things done that we need to do. When you're having one of those days, what is a tool that you pull out of your back pocket to get you through the day?
Yeah, so I would say that I really strongly believe, and like I said, it's central to my practice, the mindset piece, and so looking at kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, that our thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to our actions and our behaviors. So I have a handful of go-to phrases or mantras of if I'm feeling stuck, if I'm feeling low, if I'm low energy, starting to get anxious or down, I might have a saying in my mind that I'll go to, like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, or everything's going to be okay, or everything will work out, or everything happens for a reason, whatever it may be. In that day, I have a handful of those in my back pocket to pull out and just kind of put it on repeat in my brain until it sticks, and I go with that. What kind of an almost like the idea of hypnotherapy, drilling it into my subconscious, so that the driving force of my day is that belief system, instead of whatever one I might have like had pop into my head that wasn't serving me very well.
Yeah. I mean, mantras have been around for, thousands of years, and they're super powerful. People want to write them off as like, yeah, that's, crazy self-talk, whatever. But they wouldn't have stuck around for this long if they didn't actually work. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get her beads. Yes.
Mala. I always have a mala on.
Exactly.
One of my side gigs is making malas. So,
I love that.
So yes, use them to repeat your mantras. Love that.
Yeah. And I know people, like you said, not everyone sees that as beneficial or buys into it, or people will say, what's the pop term now is toxic positivity. And I get that. We don't want to be in denial and pretend that everything is so fantastic and rainbows and butterflies when it's not. We want to at least stay grounded in reality, and face our problems and our issues, and not deny them and pretend they're not there. But also, if we can see the lighter side in things, or the positives, and then see that negatives and positives can go hand in hand, let's bring as much positivity, and then we can work towards solutions, or what we can control in that moment. It doesn't have to mean we're being this fake positive and ignoring and denying everything.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Our next question is, yes, everything that happens to us in our life shapes and informs who we are, but there tend to be big events that stand out that, really play a big role in who we are. So, what is one life experience that has greatly shaped who you are today?
Oh goodness, there are so many. There's so many. I think a big obvious one for anyone that's a mother is having kids. That's very life changing. But I think the one that one of the first big ones that stood out to me, and how I looked at the world and who I am, and how things work, would be going from living in small town Iowa, and then actually I did a year in Illinois, and then jumping to another small town in Illinois, and then jumping to New York City, and living in New York City for about 4 years. And that was big and scary and risky and culture shock and all the things, but it was the most amazing and powerful and impactful experience as well. I learned so much about myself, gained so much confidence, became, a different version, that I, a more outgoing, a more and assertive. I learned a lot. And then I learned, I was shifting in ways that I didn't care for, either, trying to adapt and fit into that culture in that city. But it was such a huge learning experience. And so taking those risks and doing the unknown, and, getting out of your comfort zone, getting uncomfortable, that was huge. That was a big life-changing experience.
Yeah. A few years back, I did a transformational training program, and they would make you do what they call the stretch. And again, just making you do things that are outside of your comfort zone. And, yes, I've done a lot of things that put me outside of my comfort zone, but going through that training, and it for a little while, I was like, I would say I was addicted to doing uncomfortable things. Just because you feel the shift that you feel after. It's like almost like being high after you've accomplished this thing. And you know, I'm not addicted anymore, but I still I love you know, I love trying new things and stepping outside of my comfort zone, and makes life more fun. So,
absolutely. No reward without risk, right?
exactly. And I always remember, I'm sure a lot of people have seen, it was an interview with Will Smith, and where he says, everything you want in your life is on the other side of fear. And so
yes.
just stepping through your fear, and it's so cool. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if that's the one where he was talking about skydiving, which that one used to be on top of my to-do list. And the older I get, for some reason, it's dropping in my to-do list.
yeah. I always said I was going to do it for my 40th birthday, and I don't know why I never did. And yeah, like maybe I would do it, but it's not like I'm like, oh, I really got to do that now. It's like, I think I've done enough other things. I mean, maybe not risky in the same way, but
right.
But you can still get that feeling by doing other things. You don't have to jump out of a plane to get it.
Yes.
It is not on my bucket list. I don't think it ever will be on my bucket list. But I think I told Julietta this. My son got engaged back in December. And before, as he was planning it, I said, how are you going to propose to her? He's like, one of the things she's always wanted to do is go skydiving. And I looked at him and I'm like, can you choose something else? Like, can you just propose to her in a totally different way than jumping out of an airplane? And he's like, okay, Mom.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of people that do it, especially down here in South Florida, because it's a place to do it because the weather's always pretty decent. You know what I mean? So there's places down in South, you know, Miami area and all that, but it's not on my list.
Not mine anymore either. I don't know when it shifted. Somewhere in my 20s or 30s, I was like, yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah. So funny.
All right. So if there was one thing that you would want our audience to take away from this show today, what would that be?
Ooh, I really think that the importance of taking a holistic approach to life in general, scanning all our environments in our world, you know, to see how we're doing, that we attend to our mind, our emotions, our body, and our soul, our spirituality, our faith, wherever you want to go with that side of it. Equally, that we don't leave one of them out. You know, we'll never be perfectly, you know, balanced with all of them, but that we at least attend to and check in on all three of them as often as we can, and work on all of them, because that integration is so important to knowing and understanding who you are. And I truly believe we are the happiest in this life when we feel like we are living authentically who we know who we are, and we're able to live and be who we truly are. And I think we need to take care of all of those things, mind, body, and soul, to be able to walk in alignment with that.
Great advice. Great advice. So, well, Carrie, we want to thank you for joining us here today. It has been truly a pleasure having you on. And you've had great tidbits to share with our audience, and I'm sure you have impacted some listeners out there in a positive way. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Also want to thank our sponsors, Jewel Tone Interiors, for helping make this happen and keep us going on this podcasting adventure that we're doing. And also want to thank all of our listeners, because without you, there is no point in us being here. And if you want to get in touch with Carrie or Allison or myself, check out the show notes. You know, all of our contacts and social media, website, etc. can be found in the show notes. And also, if you like what you've heard today, please like, comment, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. That helps us keep going forward too. So, and with that, I want to wish everybody a magical day.
you.